Welcome to my YouTube channel, English and World Literature. Today's topic is Matthew Arnold's poem Dover Beach. Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach was published in 1867. In Dover Beach, Arnold describes the effects that science has had on the religion. Being written in the Victorian era, this poem is representative of many of the era's major concerns, conflicts, and controversies. During that time, advancements in science and industry were changing the way people thought about the world and the place of human beings in it. Moreover, some of the established religious doctrines were being questioned and challenged. Dover Beach is a mirror to these social changes and the stress they inescapably ignited. To those living in England at that time, the religious skepticism was more than a personal matter and a philosophical controversy between believers and non believers. In the Victorian era, a person defined his identity according to certain standards. For example, his place in the universe, his moral and ethical rules, and those principles that claim to run the society. For an average Victorian in 1850, Christianity provided a whole worldview. When new alternatives came to replace the Christian doctrine, people started questioning their earlier beliefs. In this situation, a large number of Christians remained firm throughout the challenges by scientists, biblical scholars, and social theorists. However, it left many Christians confused. Another threat to society was the growing acceptance of a materialistic school of thought known as utilitarianism. It said that all realities are based on people's self interest. It stated that a person does not choose an action because of its moral and ethical outcome. It claimed that actions are chosen because of their likelihood of bringing pleasure instead of pain. It means that society acts according to the collective self interest. The motto of utilitarianism was the greatest pleasure for the greatest number of people. It stood in contrast to the religious principles which said that virtue is the motivating push behind human conduct. Another threat to the church, doctrine, and society was the teachings of Thomas Malthus, a cleric and economic theorist. He hypothesized that a shortage of resources, along with the overpopulation of poorer class, would end up in mass poverty. In the mid 19th century, his prophecy was coming true. With the industrialization, factories were built across northern England. Despite the growing economy, the living conditions of workers seemed to have worsened. Malthusian said that the workers' poverty is the consequence of their tendency to have many children. Furthermore, they believed that social reforms and welfare will encourage the production of more offspring and will decrease the mortality rate among the poor. This notion also went against the church dogma, which taught charity towards the poor and that all people are equal in the eyes of God. The scientific outlook of Victorians increased more when more genealogical discoveries were made. In 1856, archaeologists discovered the remains of Neanderthal man. Scientists discovered history many times older than the creation of the Bible. All this set stage for Charles Darwin, who wrote about evolution rather than creation. He came up with his idea of the natural selection and the survival of the fittest. Not a long time before, Dover Beach was published. Charles Darwin published his studies on evolution on the origin of species. Dover Beach is considered a witness to the clash between science and religion. The poem starts in a conventional naturalistic atmosphere. The speaker describes seashore in the moonlight. The speaker stands on the cliffs of Dover Beach. He observes nature. He looks out upon a calm sea and examines the fullness and highness of the tide. He also observes that the moonlight reflects on the water. The speaker then looks across the English Channel to the French coast that is only 20 miles away. There, the speaker sees that the lights of the French coast have faded away. However, the cliffs of the English coast stand bright and tall. At this moment, the bay also seems calm. Suddenly, the speaker calls someone else. He describes the scene to someone else and wants this person to come and be the speaker's companion. He beseeches this person to join him at the window to look at what the speaker is looking at and to enjoy the pleasant air of the night. After this, the speaker's mood suddenly changes. The speaker senses something is not quite right. He describes the result when the water meets the moonlit land. The speaker instructs the other person to listen to the sound of the pebbles. The pebbles make a displeasing sound when the waves pick them up as they move across the shoreline and deposit them as the waves go back. The speaker notes this repeatedly slow motion of the waves, and it evokes eternal sadness in him. This eternal sadness reflects the misery of human throughout history rather than the personal problems of the speaker. Immediately, the speaker considers the ancient Greek tragedy writer Sophocles. He wonders if Sophocles may have heard the same sadness in the Aegean Sea which the speaker hears now on the English coast. In the mind of the speaker, Sophocles compares the sad sound of the sea waves with the general endless suffering of humanity, which moves like the waves. The speaker then observes another mental image that comes because of the sound of the sea. Describing this next thought, the speaker likens religious faith to a sea and calls it the sea of faith that was once filled with the tides. At that time, it surrounded the earth like a belt. At the present moment, the speaker only hears that the sea draws back melancholy. The sea of faith becomes smaller and it disappears into the atmosphere in this way. It leaves the boundaries of the world uncovered. The speaker then addresses the companion as love. He suggests desperately that the two of them need to deal with each other with honesty and originality. The speaker states that the world before them seems like a beautiful and a new dream which is full of joy. However, this is not the truth. The world does not offer any happiness, love, and clarity. Also, this world does not provide any assurance, calmness, and consolation for pain. The speaker then compares the present situation of humanity with a standing position of a person on a flat and dark piece of land that is trapped in the chaos of a battle. Here, the fight between the unknowing groups continues in the darkness of the night. As the poem opens, the speaker of the poem starts a dramatic monologue. He describes the serenity of the sea. The speaker stands on the coast to enjoy the calmness of the sea and moonlit night. Here, the speaker goes through the mood of sensory awareness. The quiet sea shows harmony, balance, and stability. The speaker mentions a strait, which refers to the Strait of Dover between the English Channel and the North Sea. He also refers to the gleaming lights of the French coast, which are gone. Metaphorically, the light that gleams and is gone means the oscillating faith of people in God and religion. The initial lines of the first stanza also signify that God's dignity cannot be destroyed by the people's loss of faith. The speaker observes moonlight, which produces a sense of desolation, meditation, and pain. The natural scene before the speaker is blended with a sense of spiritual security by words such as calm, full, fair, and tranquil. The cliffs of England are composed of eroding limestone, chalk. Such composition makes it look bright and huge to the speaker. The concept of eroding further intensifies the theme of the fragile faith of human beings. The speaker calls his companion to join him at the window and enjoy the delighted nature. It shows that the speaker seeks companionship. The speaker of the poem is concerned about the shift in human ideology from the teachings of Christianity to the impersonal world of Darwin and other scientists. A frightening image is evoked when the terrible roar of the pebbles is caused by the ebb and flow of the sea. It creates a striking dissimilarity to the pleasant atmosphere that is described in the first few lines. It produces a depressing, tragic, and stressful appeal. This is an allusion to Sophocles, a famous Greek tragic poet. The gloomy and tedious sound of the waves reminds the speaker of Sophocles. Sophocles observed the misery in the life of human beings when he heard the dejected sound of the waves of the Aegean Sea. The speaker himself is deeply affected by the frightening waves of the sea and human fate. Humans are caught up by eternal suffering. They are trapped in an endless cycle of miseries and hardships. The speaker compares the ebb and flow of the sea waves with the never ending human misery. The sea is a classic image invested with the idea of divine dignity. Due to advancements in science and the increasing materialistic approach of people, faith in the religion is rapidly losing its significance. Skepticism and pessimism have left man vulnerable and dejected. The spiritual and religious faith that was once unbreakable is shaking now. The sea of faith that enveloped the world just like a girdle has receded now. The sea of faith is no longer protecting humanity. People's minds are full of doubt because science has questioned and challenged religious doctrine and spiritual beliefs. The dominating and loud roar of religion is no more dominant. The intense and mighty roar of the sea of faith is replaced by depressing and withdrawing roar. The night wind symbolizes disbelief and doubts. Faith has been gone by the arrival of materialistic science. Naked shingles refers to the stones that are naked because the water has withdrawn. It also hints at the idea that when faith is lost, there is no divine delight to protect us. The final stanza expresses the intense despair and sorrow in the mind of the speaker. For the speaker, love is the ultimate support in such a chaotic situation. According to the speaker, love is the only truth in the world of despair and torture. Life is full of commotion and human beings are engulfed by the darkling plain. This world has no joy, no love, no hope, and no certainty. Lovers in the poem are experiencing the same suffering. They are united more by the sorrows of the world than by happiness. Humanity is surrounded by darkness. People are involved in a never ending battle. They have lost the purpose and meaning of their life. They are fighting in the dark, which results in hopelessness and stress.